Alright, so I made this basic stand a long time ago, but I made modifications to it. So before, the table was higher and it did not have this recess that I just recently I just basically took it apart and reassembled it to make it look like this. It's not meant to be anything elegant or beautiful. I do have in mind to build a proper miter saw station, and I just decided that because I have different shop furniture at different levels, I was like, you know what, let's bring everything down to the same level. And so I moved on to the table that I just had my miter saw sitting on. It wasn't the miter saw table, it was just a table that I had built, and when I bought this miter saw I just put it on top. So the modifications that I made obviously is I just cut off the top and lowered it, and the reason why I lowered it just like this is so that basically when I lowered it so that basically when I put it next to my MFT, which is here, it will be on the same, either on the same plane or close to. So this is how close I came to getting it, you know, perfect level. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And as I told you before, I wanted to build out a miter saw station. So let me show you a kind of cool thing about this whole modular workbench I do. So basically what I'm able to do now, if I unlock the wheels, so I can move this table around, obviously. And actually I'm going to move this towards the camera. And then I'm going to take my big MFT and let me pull my MFT3 out of the way. Okay. So I'm going to roll this out. Let me just tell you, that didn't feel good. That should slice flesh off. Okay. So having things modular really makes things, in one aspect it could be a little bit stressful and cumbersome because you got to move things around, but you could do things like this. So I can take my miter saw and butt it up on this side, and I actually have the ability obviously to make cuts, and then I have an outfeed on this side. I can also take my table saw cabinet that I built, which is on the same plane, and I can have a faux miter saw station like that. And to wrap it up even more, I can pull this around, which is on the same plane, and I have this whole little setup here where, you know, obviously the table saw doesn't have the outfeed in this particular configuration, but what I'm able to do is change it around. I could come up with all kinds of different, you know, ways to put this together. And obviously this is the narrower part of the garage. If I move over to the bigger side, which is on the back, I can do other things. Other ideas that I have would be to move this down, the table saw down like this, and then I can move the miter saw this garage is on a slope, so things can kind of get away from you if you're not careful. I can butt this up here, which gives me an outfeed, and then I can come back around and now I have, if I wanted to, I could call this my miter station if I want, you know, which is consisting of my MFT and this table, or I can always use this as the other side of the outfeed table as well. So it's so many different, you know, solutions here. So let's try with the MFT 3 as the outfeed. And there you go. And so I pull this forward, and I'm able to take, like, say, let's pull this back so you can see. So I can take out this 4x4 post. And I got support on both sides. So one of the things I was considering doing is I was thinking about maybe if there would be any issue with me putting dog holes in the top of the table saw bench here. And the reason why I was considering that is because if I did put dog holes, what I could do is get a fence. I could actually use my bench dog's fence back there and use it as actually put it in line with this fence to give me repeatable cuts, which I think is a good idea. And actually I can already do that if I use the actual the MFT. So let me show you what I mean. Or I can use this one here to tell you the truth. So if I take this out of the way, I'll grab the short one for now. And then say I line this up with this fence here, then what I can do is if I measure off my piece to a certain length, I've got my cutoff right there. And I just want to make this, you know, in line with the fence. So I have to scoot it back just a bit, turn this around to get that on the same plane. So it's not perfectly on the same plane right now, but I could obviously adjust it so that I can do that. But if you just look there and you see that I could actually have my stop here for the miter saw. And I could do that on both sides because I could use the MFT3 on one side and I can use my big MFT on the other side. So, you know, I may not need to build a miter saw station at this time. Really the only reason why I would want to do it is to have something that's already set up and not have to move things around like I have to do this. But if I'm batching out cuts, then this is not a bad idea. I can set it up like this to batch out those cuts, And then once I finish those cuts, if I need to do like table saw cuts, I can set everything up with the table saw being the outfeed, or the table saw and butt it up to the MFT to be the outfeed, and I can batch out those cuts. And then once I get all of that type of stuff cut down, then I can just reconfigure everything and set up the MFT. And you know, when I get my cuts down to smaller cuts, I can use the MFT3 for the smaller cuts, and then for assembly, I have my large MFT table. So I'm just kind of coming up with this solution as I go along, and in my mind at least, I feel like it's coming together in nicely, because I'll be able to do a lot because of the modularity of this setup. And as I said, because of the way I have things going, I can just move things around, which I think is pretty cool. So anyways, just a little tidbit on my little modular setup. Thanks for taking time to watch. I'll see you in my next video.